Welcome to another episode of NFHS Now. I'm your host, John Gillis. In this week's feature segment, we'll be sharing with you an interview with Missouri State High School Activities Association Executive Director, Dr. Kerwin Urhahn, regarding their first ever Girls State Wrestling Championships. However, before we get to that, we want to share with you the stories of two West Coast State Association Executive Directors, one who is retiring and one who is just starting. Roger Blake, who has been the California Interscholastic Federation Executive Director since 2012, has informed the CIF Executive Committee of his intent to retire at the end of the 2018-19 school year. Blake will conclude a 43-year career in secondary education, including the final 21 years with the CIF. Among his accomplishments at the CIF, Blake has led the organization's focus on risk minimization and spearheaded the CIF's partnership with California Special Olympics and the USA Paralympic Committee. On the other end of the experience scale, Mick Hoffman has been named the next executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. He will officially succeed current WIAA executive director Mike Colbreese this summer. Hoffman, who currently is assistant superintendent of the Vancouver Public Schools, served on the WIAA executive board from 2016 to 2018, where he was a member of the classification committee and chaired the WIAA recruiting committee. We'll be right back with Kerwin Urhahn. You won't want to miss him.
Whole school engagement, inclusive student leadership, and unified sports. That's what Special Olympics is all about. Acceptance is inviting somebody to the party, but inclusion is when you ask them to dance.
Choose to include.
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 Contact your local Special Olympics program on how to be part of the unified sports movement. Please visit specialolympics.org for additional information.
We're a pretty close-knit town, so anybody who participates in sports or wins a game, all you hear for the next week is the buzz around town about who won this game, who won the football game, who won the softball championships and stuff like that. Like it's just really fun to be part of something for the whole community.
Welcome back to the show. We have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Kerwin Urhahn, who is both the Executive Director of the Missouri State High School Activities Association and the Section 5 member of the NFHS Board of Directors. Kerwin, welcome to NFHS Now.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Kerwin, I read that Misha is starting girls wrestling this year as a separate championship. How did that start?
It started about 3 years ago when we had a member school contact us about the interest in starting girls wrestling. We went out and talked to our schools through our area meetings and also through asking questions on the questionnaire to try to make sure that there was an interest out there. And we found that there were schools who wanted us to try this. And so therefore we put it on the ballot last year and it passed and became a bylaw change. And so this year was our first year for having girls wrestling.
I understand that you had 169 girls on co-ed rosters last year. What were you hoping for in terms of participation as a separate championship this year?
You know, we were just kind of looking at if we could just double that number, get to 320 to 340, then we'd be happy. If we got to 400, we were going to be excited about that number, but we actually ended up with 970 girls on our weight management program, which allows them to wrestle in interscholastic competitions. Of that 970 girls, when we looked at those numbers, we looked at unique weight classes at each school, because there may be some schools that had multiple girls at a weight class. We ended up with about 640 girls that were unique, able to enter into the state championship district bracket to be able to come to the state finals.
Did you have high schools fielding complete teams with all the weight classes filled with girls? Or can there be just one or two girls participating in wrestling in a given school?
It ran the gambit. We had some schools that just had one or two, but most of them had anywhere between 4 to 5. But we did have some schools that had complete rosters where they filled every weight class of the 12 weight classes that were available. the inaugural state champions, Lebanon High School, they actually had 15 girls on their roster and were able to fill all 12 slots for their weight management stuff.
Kerwin, when and where were the state championships held?
The championships were held February the 14th through the 16th at Mizzou Arena in conjunction with our boys wrestling championships. We had them all together, and it was really interesting for everyone to see. It was an exciting thing that electrified our audience, and the people who were coming to participate got to do so. The young ladies got to participate in front of 10,000 people throughout the weekend. And on the final night, we took the mats. We usually would, in the past, we went down to 4 mats because we had 4 weight classes for the boys. Well, this year we spread out those 4 mats and put one more right in the middle, and that's where the girls performed at.
What do you see as the future of girls wrestling in Missouri?
You know, I see the future as being bright. And when you look at our last 88 years of holding wrestling championships, we had a total of 14 young ladies qualified to come to the final site. And of all those years, of the 88 years with those 14 girls competing, we only had one girl who ever medaled at the final site, and she medaled in 3 different occasions throughout her high school career. Well, this year, we had 144 young ladies come to this final site to participate. We see that number going up next year and just continue to grow as more and more young ladies come out and participate in girls wrestling.
Well, Kerwin, it certainly sounds like girls wrestling in Missouri is off to a great start. I wish you great success, and thanks for being today's guest.
Thanks, John.
We'll be right back after this message. Stay tuned.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate.
The NFHS Learning Center is the leader in online education for the interscholastic community. At nfhslearn.com, you can find over 60 courses for coaches, administrators, officials, parents, students, and performing arts programs, including over 25 free courses such as concussion in sports, heat illness prevention, sudden cardiac arrest, and protecting students from abuse. For more information, visit the NFHS Learning Center.
Welcome back to the program. Today, we want to share with you some information regarding 2 upcoming NFHS meetings. The NFHS Softball Rules Committee will hold its annual meeting June 10th through the 12th. The deadline for submission of rules change proposals is May 1st. On September 23rd and 24th, the NFHS will hold in-person rules interpreter meetings in the Hyatt Regency, Indianapolis. The sports of wrestling and ice hockey will hold their meetings on September 23rd, while basketball will hold its meeting on the 24th. Registration information for each of these events will be sent to all state association executive directors and sports liaisons 3 months prior to the event. We'll be right back after this important message.
This may sound like a typical high school basketball game being played on a Friday night in Kansas. In fact, it's a crash course in cooperation and teamwork. It's a test of dedication, determination, and drive. It's character development in action. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think about this. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students who participate in school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. At the same time, playing sports helps teach lessons not covered in the classroom. Lessons like tolerance, respect for the rules, and the importance of supporting your community. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Kansas Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
That wraps up our show for this week. If you have any story ideas, please let me know and we'll get them on the program. Be sure to tune in next week, and until then, take care.